Welcome to episode 10. Episode 10.
We've reached double digits. It's time for a Netflix deal.
It's time for a Netflix deal. We are to double digits. Welcome, everybody, to episode 10 of Chip Off the Old Black. I am Todd Black. You know, Cameron, I was just thinking the other day, since the first episode, we never introduce who we are. We just say Chip Off the Old Black. My name is Todd Black. I am a professional photographer living here in Alaska. And that good-looking guy above me there on the screen with the sunglasses on is my son Cameron Black.
Am I above you?
You're
Is
above
that
me.
how I am on the screen?
That's how you are on the screen. You're above me.
I thought we were side by side. Shows what I know. I'm Cameron Black and I'm blind. Clearly
blind. Well, wait a minute. Now we got to address this. Actually, I've got something going on my screen over to this side, so it's right now we're stacked up. But in the video, we are beside each other. We're just beside ourselves. That's all there is to it.
All right, we're beside ourselves.
So, what's been happening since we talked last week, Cambo? How's things been going?
Well, first I've got to light a candle. We're still on the candle that smells like shoes. It's not my favorite.
Well, it could be worse. It could smell like gym socks. It smells like shoes, at least. That's okay.
It smells like shoes, but we're going to continue to light it because candles cost money.
Yeah, you will. You know what? As tight as you are, you would continue to light it if it did smell like gym socks. You'd still keep lighting it until it was all gone.
I would because candles cost money. So in the meantime, before we get to that, little housekeeping. If you haven't done this already, shame on you, for shame. If you have not liked this video or subscribed to this channel, we have 25 subscribers. I told Dad last week that means we have enough for a medium-sized cult. But we'd always like to add on. So like the video, subscribe to the video. If you don't subscribe or like, it's because you hate blind people. Little product placement. I have the Taco Bell drink because you asked how I was. I'm doing good. I just got back. I literally just returned. Every month, my company we organize a happy hour, a departmental happy hour, and it was actually my turn to organize it this month. And we went to the Summit Grill in Kansas City. And if anyone goes to the Summit Grill in Kansas City, I highly recommend their fried calamari. It is delicious.
And the second thing you recommend is to tell people to tell them at the place where they heard of them.
That's right. Tell them that you're going there because you got sent there by Chip Off the Old Black, and they will have no idea who we are.
They will have no idea, but they will learn.
They'll have no clue. But I just got back from happy hour. The reason I swung by Taco Bell is because a lot of the things on the menu at the Summit Grill are a little pricey. So I swung by Taco Bell on the way home to get something pretty cheap for dinner.
So wait a minute. So you went to a restaurant. I guess it could have been worse. You could have bought the Taco Bell and brought it in there with you.
Correct. I went and had dinner after my dinner.
Okay.
Well, no one orders dinner at happy hour. What we'll do is some people will just like get some appetizers and we'll just pass them around like family style with the table. So I did. I had a street taco. I had some fried calamari, which is so good. But then I was still pretty hungry, so I swung by Taco Bell on the way home. So I'm doing good. I'm doing well. But more important than calamari and Taco Bell, how was your camping trip? How was Denali? I see that clearly you did not get eaten by any bears.
No, we didn't get eaten by any bears. Didn't see any bears. We had a moose walk through our campsite. Yeah, we had a great time for the most part. Anybody that's ever done any RV camping knows what I'm talking about here and can relate. It wasn't without its problems. But you know, we managed to overcome the challenges. The biggest challenge after the first night, woke up the first morning and it was 46 degrees in the camper. So that was
oh my gosh,
a little bit cold. The second morning, Cameron, get this, the second morning we woke up and it was snowing. I don't mean a little bit.
No.
It was snowing a lot. We always try to go Memorial Weekend. This year, Memorial Weekend, for some reason, about a week earlier than it normally is, and we could tell. The weather was considerably colder. Uh, you know what though? The animals loved it. Had some great animal sightings, including we rode one of the tour buses one day, and we had, according to the tour driver that's been doing it for 20 years, he said this is the best porcupine sighting. I know that sounds funny. This is the best porcupine sighting I've seen in 20 years. It was incredible. This porcupine was just in a tree eating away. I got some great footage, but anyway, we might talk a little more about it next week. I've got so much footage. I'm working on right now to put in I have a Todd Black Photography YouTube channel, and I'm going to put that into one of our travel camping videos and upload it. And I hope to have it finished by you and I's next episode, episode 11, next week. And I will include a link to that below when I have it finished. But anyway, yeah, we had a nice time. Got back safe. That's the important thing. Got back safe. No wheels fell off or anything like that. So,
Did
anyway, it
did you
was
have
good.
did you have that cool fire pit, that sterno fire pit that you guys have?
We did have it. We did not take it. Uh, here's the thing. Your mother, it's usually one of two things. Your mother's not wild about sitting outside, even around that little fire pit, when it's cool out. Well, we'll wait until it's a little warmer out. Well, when it gets warmer out, the mosquitoes are everywhere. Although the mosquitoes in Denali, I tell you, they wear parkas or something because they were out in full force, no matter how cool it was. But sitting out there getting eaten by mosquitoes and all that stuff, it's just not something she's wild about. We knew that you would love that thing, but we
I
don't,
do love
honestly, we
that
don't use
thing.
it that much. We don't use it
I
that much.
especially love it if it's 46 freaking degrees outside.
Yeah. Oh no, it was 46 inside. Matter of fact, when I went out in the morning to start the generators, it was warmer outside than it was inside the RV. So
Yeah, yeah.
I actually
Hell
fired
no.
up the generators and turned the furnace on and then sat outside for a few minutes. It was
Yeah.
it
I
it
thought
was it was interesting. It was interesting.
I thought you were gonna say the biggest issue is that mom ran out of blueberry mojitos.
No, no, she had those spaced out perfectly where they lasted just the exact amount of time. Uh, pretty much everything lasted. The fuel for the generators, when the weekend was over, I had probably an eighth of an inch of fuel in the jug. So plan that out. The mojitos planned out. We forgot a few grocery minor things. We're having hot dogs one night, hamburgers another night, and we forgot to bring any mayonnaise. So naturally, that meant we had to take a trip to the closest grocery store, which was in a little town called Healy, about 15 minutes away. But we had never really, but we'd only been there one time, and it's been a long time ago, and didn't realize how beautiful the drive was just to get to the grocery store there in Healy. So we ended up going to that grocery store a couple of times because we just kept, ran out of bottled water, didn't have any mayonnaise. It's always something. Anybody that's gone camping, it's always something. Yeah. So, but anyway,
For
got
sure.
back, had to catch up from being gone those days, but pretty much caught up now and just moving forward. So, speaking of moving forward, that's enough about my week. Moving forward, I think it's about time, isn't it, for the Daggummit blowout?
It is indeed time for the Daggummit blowout. And just for a change of pace, the Dadgummit blowout for this week is the Kansas City Royals. Um, but I tell you what, they have outdone themselves this time. Uh, the Yankees are in town, which is bad news, Bears. They are actually in the process of getting swept. The game is going on literally as we speak. The game is happening right now. And when last I checked, right before we started recording, they were losing in the eighth inning. So they're about to get swept. But last night, in the words of the immortal Bob Uecker, the Royals lost 15-1 in a game that was not as close as the final score would suggest. Uh,
Oh my God.
in the process of I'm not done. That's just the final score. You know what I hate, and this happened a couple times with Oklahoma, not last year, but in the last couple of years. I hate getting notifications on my phone when a loss is so bad that 24 hours later I'm still getting notifications on my phone about that loss and how bad it was. And I'm getting notifications about how the team broke franchise records while they were beating the crap out of my team. Uh, that happened a couple times, a couple years ago when Oklahoma was really struggling. But anyway, so last night the Royals lose 15-1 to the New York Yankees. In the process of losing 15-1 to the New York Yankees, the New York Yankees got 24 hits, 6 home runs, and they set a franchise record because every single member of their starting lineup, for those of you that don't know baseball, that's 9 different guys. So 9 different guys all got at least 2 hits.
All 9 had at least 2 hits.
Every single starter in the Yankees lineup had a minimum of 2 hits.
Oh my
Some
gosh.
had more for
You
a
know what
total of six
you know what
home
this sounds
runs.
like? You know what this sounds like? My
What?
MLB PlayStation when I play MLB on PlayStation.
It really does. And I wish that I could have restarted it and done it again. It was pretty bad. So yeah, a minimum of 2 hits each. Some had more for a total of 6 home runs, 24 hits, and 15 total runs. The Royals had 1 run, and it was a solo home run by Bobby Witt Jr., who is our all star if we have one. And during the game, I got a text from a friend of mine. I won't use his name, although I'm sure he wouldn't care. He works with me, and he's a big Royals fan. And he texted me by about the 8th inning, and his text said, "We suck." And then below that, it said, "When do you think Bobby Witt Jr. asks for a trade?" And I texted back, "Probably during the next commercial break."
Probably during the next he's probably returning to town the first chance he gets.
He's returning to town as we speak. So yeah, Royals are pretty bad right now.
Okay,
Uh, I'm
that was the worst Daggummit blowout in ten episodes or 9 episodes. I
it
guess we
it
started.
really was. And I tell you what, just to add on to it, I'm getting text message advertisements now where you can now get Royals tickets for like $6. And just to put that in perspective, a hot dog is $10 and a beer is like 10 or $12. So the tickets are officially cheaper than the hot dogs and the beer. Uh, Also, one more thing about that. For my work, one of my job responsibilities is that I do some outreach and I help organize community events for our work. And I reached out to my contact with the Kansas City Royals, and I did this same thing last year. And I said, "How many free tickets?" Sorry, people are blowing up my glasses. Uh, I said, "How many tickets can our organization count on getting for free?" Last year, my contact said 50. We can get you 50 free tickets. This year, he said, "You can," this is exactly what he said. "You can have as many as you want. Just let me know if you go over 100 because we're going to have to start putting people in the upper deck."
You can have as many as you want. Wow. You know
So you
what?
can virtually have as many as you want.
Hey, what are the you didn't happen to hear what the Royals manager has to say about losing? What was it, 18-1?
It wasn't that bad. It was 15-1.
Okay. What do you, if you're the manager, what do you say?
I did not catch his presser. My guess would be something like "we suck."
Yeah, I guess it would be. You know, it kind of reminds me of I have a friend in Columbia, Missouri, been a friend for a long time. Regrettably, I haven't talked to him in a while. Named Stuart Head, and uh, we always would go back and forth, friendly banter when Oklahoma played Missouri in football. Well, this particular year, uh, Missouri came to Norman and got beat 77 to nothing in Norman. OU beat Missouri 77 to nothing. And I saw Stewart the next week, and he said, "Yeah, I went." He said, I had a friend that went to the press conference afterwards where the head coach said, we really didn't play that bad. Just, there's just 10, 11, 12 plays in the whole game. And one of the reporters shouted out, yeah, they were all touchdowns.
We're all touchdown.
They were all touchdowns. There was 11 of them. You're right. It was 10, 11, 12 plays. Yeah, that's I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it like that, the Royals pitching staff really did a pretty good job. They only allowed about there was about 15 bad pitches that were all runs.
They're all wrong. No, that's the thing about baseball. Unless there are 15 home runs, it takes a lot of bad pitching to score 15
That's
runs.
true. That's very true. Yeah, it was
At least if they're all home
it was
runs,
not.
it's just 15 bad pitches. But in baseball, it's 50 or 100 bad pitches. And evidently, their bullpen could do nothing to save them from the tailspin.
Well, and I think half of it, I mean, I don't know about half, but a good portion of it can be blamed on their starter. I got into work today and I was talking with that same friend who texted me last night, and he said, "Hey, who was starting for us last night?" And I said, "I don't know. Let me look." And I looked and I found the starter from last night, and I never even heard of the guy. Apparently, he was filling in for one of our guys who, I don't know, requested a trade. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'd never heard of our starting pitcher, and apparently, uh, he allowed 4 runs in the first inning.
Yeah, you've
So the
heard of him
Yankees
now.
pitcher,
Maybe he
yeah,
was
the
just trying to
Yankees
make a name
pitcher,
for himself, Cameron.
he might be. The Yankees pitcher had a 4 run cushion in the first by the first inning before he even threw a pitch. He had a 4 run cushion.
Which is a lot in baseball.
Yeah, that's there are games that end with less runs than that.
Wow. Okay. You hid the Daggummit blowout from me this week. Uh, and I understand why now. Yeah, that's the worst one. That's the worst one we've heard in the segment. So, wow. Okay, moving right along after the Royals pull through for us again. Uh, I think it's time for the Cyclops segment. You got something for the Cyclops segment?
I do. I do have something for this from the Cyclops segment. So at Happy, I actually just told this story at Happy Hour, and that's what made me think of it. Uh, so as a lot of our viewers know, I am divorced, and we're not going to go into that. There's no sense in going into that. But I will say that two of the best things to come out of that marriage, no matter how it ended, were my kids, and I would do everything all over again if it meant getting my babies. I really, really would. Um, and I was telling the story of the day my son was born. Um, so my ex-wife had natural births in a birthing center with a midwife present. Um, but she was very adamant about me being as involved as possible, which I appreciate. I appreciated a great deal, and so I was very involved with the birth of both of my children. And my ex-wife had told me that with our second child being born, she wanted me to tell her what the gender was, which one of our children it was after they were born. So um, everything happened, everything was okay, and our child was born, and I caught the child, and it was a water birth. It was in a big bathtub, and I lifted our child out of the tub, and I did a little equipment check, and then
A little
I
recon?
did a little recon, and I handed our child to my ex-wife, and I said, "Hey, it's our beautiful baby girl. We have another baby girl." And the midwife said, "Hey, you might want to check again." And then she flopped something into my hand that let me know that I had made a mistake. I was clearly mistaken, and it was my beautiful son.
Oops.
Um,
Well,
I
hey,
got a little mixed up.
you had a 50-50 chance. No matter
I
what
did. I
the
had a 50-50 chance, and I blew
no
it.
matter what the transgenders say, you had a 50-50 chance. It's going to be one or the other.
That's right. It's gonna be one or the other. I got it wrong, but that was the birth of my beautiful son.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I was thinking there's a couple of stories I like, and I don't know that they a couple of my favorite memories, and I don't know that they necessarily have to do with something that happened to you because you're blind. I used to in an earlier life before we moved here, ironically, I used to bass fish quite a bit, both when we lived at Lake of the Ozarks and when we lived in Oklahoma in Norman. And one of my favorite places was a place called McGee Creek, I think down by Ada, Oklahoma. It's been 100
I
years
remember that.
since I've
Yeah.
been there. Anyway, I decided one time, I'm going to take Cameron with me. And I mean, he was so excited. How old do you think you were? I can't remember.
I was probably, I don't know, 11, 12,
11 or 12. I think one of
something
his
like that.
favorite things about the trip was getting to roll the window down in the car and spit sunflower seeds out while we were driving down there. Anyway, we get there and I trailered my boat, obviously, and we're at the boat ramp, and all of a sudden I started having anxiety about, I'm taking my blind son out on this boat, and what happens if things that you just sometimes think about that are just stupid to think about, but I was still thinking about them. And I just thought about them and thought about them, and it kind of messed up my normal routine of launching the boat, my mental routine. So I launched the boat, put Cameron in it, parked the car. We go off to fish the dam. So immediately the boat's up on plane. It's a bass boat. It's up on plane, and we're going to go fish the dam. And about the time I get the trolling motor in, I'm fishing on the front, and I'm just kind of trying to get situated before I help Cameron. So I throw the trolling motor in, and about the time I get the trolling motor in, I hear the bilge pump running. And I boated enough to know what that meant. Cameron didn't know what that meant, but I knew what it meant. So without even saying anything, I flipped the swim ladder off the back and I just jumped in. I just jumped in the water without saying anything. And Cameron, of course, all he hears is this big splash back in the water. He was, Dad, what happened? Are you okay? And I said, yeah, I forgot to put the plug in. So I'm here in the water putting the plug in. There was no way to put it in from inside the boat. So fortunately, I remembered immediately what was wrong. But that was again, none of that happened. Oh, that's something that happened to you because you're blind, but it kind of did. I mean, it threw me off my mental game, my mental routine of launching the boat. So anyway, that is my Cyclops story, if you want to call it that, for this week. So Cambo, we talked last week in the absence of football season. That kind of leaves a wide gap of what we had planned to always talk about in these shows. And there's not a whole lot going on in the off season. So we've been talking about some things we could do to maybe talk about in place of that, in lieu of that. And anybody that's spent any time around me, including Cameron, knows that I have some very specific opinions about what qualifies as a sport and what is a game. Uh, so we decided to come up with this new segment called what's it called, Cameron? Do you remember?
It is called No Games, Just Sports.
No
Is the name of our
games,
new segment.
just sports. So what we're gonna do, I went and pulled uh, in the last day or two. I thought, well, other than just the major sports, because there's only, that would take up like 4 segments or something. I pulled all the Olympic events. I'm not going to call them sports. I'm not going to call them games. I pulled the Winter Olympic events and the Summer Olympic events, and Cameron and I will talk between ourselves and decide which 10 or 12 events that we want to talk about. Uh, Probably, unless somebody wants to argue in the comments below, and we know that this segment is going to provide some fuel for argument, and we are open for debate. But instead of spending a segment talking about football, we're just going to be in universal agreement that football, and I'm talking about American football here, that football is a sport, not a game. Okay, so Cameron,
Yup.
instead of just stating our opinions, which we're going to do also, of course, don't you think we have to have some criteria, or this is my criteria? You can agree or disagree with it. My criteria, I'm looking some of my notes here. Number one, if you can play it more than once in a day, not a sport. That's a game. Number two, you must be an athlete to play, meaning some reasonable amount of physical fitness to play. Uh, you must be an athlete to play. Number three, there must be some chance of significant injury while you're participating. And not that we want to watch it for injury, but there has to be, that's another criteria. And number four, of course, and this is really kind of a poor one, but number four, there must be some level of expertise required to play. And I think in anything we talk about, probably whether it's a game or a sport, there's going to be expertise involved. Okay. So
If either one of us can do it, it's not a sport.
that's that's pretty much true. Uh, but anyway, we talked about here are some of the events. And Cameron, I'm looking at my notes. I emailed these to you, and these are some of the Olympic events that we're going to consider talking about in the future segments. Not all of them, just some of them. Okay. Alpine skiing, biathlon, bobsledding, cross country skiing, curling, figure skating, freestyle skiing, ice hockey, luge, Nordic combined, speed skating, ski jumping, snowboard. And then in the summer, you've got competitive swimming, diving, water polo, and that's strenuous. Horses drown all the time in that one. Synchronized swimming, archery, track and field, badminton, basketball, boxing, canoeing, cycling, equestrian, fencing, and my favorite, ping pong. Okay. Table tennis, they call it table tennis and tennis. Those are all the different things. We're not going to talk about each one. Cameron and I will decide
There was
which ones we want to talk
you
about.
you left a couple because there was skateboarding was on that list.
Yeah, skateboarding is on the list. Skateboarding is on the list. Of course, basketball is on the list too. Uh,
I'm not
and
I'm not gonna lie to you. That winter list, I'm gonna have a hard time debating a couple of those because I don't know what a couple of those are.
Well, you and I are just going to talk about the ones that we know what they are. And I also forgot to mention on it as an Olympic event was added not long ago. I think they're still doing it as golf. Okay. We're going to definitely talk about golf. Not tonight. We're going to talk, but golf will be one of the ones we cover. And I'm just warning you right now. I know I'm going to piss off a lot of fat old guys in yellow pants, but that golf, not a sport. I'm just telling you. I love it, not a sport. And the other part of the
There are
criteria, whether we like it or we don't like it, has nothing to do with it.
no,
There's a lot of these that we're going to talk about that I despise, but I can't say they're not sports just because I despise them.
there are
So,
some others that I think we may discuss that are not Olympic events, but we might discuss. I suggested to Dad. I know for a fact we have at least one fan of the show who is a NASCAR fan. So I think that
yes,
we have to discuss NASCAR.
have to discuss NASCAR as much as we don't want to. Bowling, that's another one.
Bowling, we have to discuss bowling. Hunting and fishing, although
Yes,
I'm not really sure what there is to discuss about that. I already told you and I don't think you'll disagree with me, even though you love it. Fishing, Dad, is not a sport.
We're gonna lump hunting and fishing in together, and we'll talk about
Neither
them.
one is a sport.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk about them in one of the next episodes. Hunting and fishing and golf, NASCAR. But tonight, Cameron wanted to talk about his favorite sport. He alleges it's a
I
sport,
did.
baseball.
We're gonna talk baseball because Dad and I disagree on. We won't disagree on all of them, but we disagree on this.
Yes, we do disagree. Uh, I'll make my position easily. Go to criteria one. Baseball plays
Now
182 games and just barely more than that many days. They double up a lot. They play a lot of double headers.
it's it's 162,
Okay.
but also, can we talk about that first criteria? And I sent this to you in my email back. I think there are some sports or games or whatever, not even necessarily baseball, but there might be some that need to be exempt from that first criteria just because for the pure fact that not every one of those that you just listed off has a clock or a time limit.
Okay. Explain more. I'm not sure what you're saying.
Well, I guess what I mean is if you're playing something like you're probably only going to play football once a day
Yep.
because football, for example, takes 3.5 hours. Then it has a 60-minute game clock.
Yes.
Baseball takes 2.5, 3 hours. Baseball has 9 innings. But a lot of those sports that you listed off don't have you can't quantify them. They don't have any measurements of time or anything like that. So you could do them multiple times in a day. That doesn't. I don't think that should necessarily exclude them from being a sport, though.
Well, what I mean is you what I didn't mean that you were limit that you could do them twice a day to have anything to do with the time limitations. I'm talking about the lack of physical limitations. The fact that you can play baseball, an entire baseball game twice in a day, uh, to me, that's a huge red flag and a huge reason that baseball is not a sport. It's a game. Uh, and that's just one. Let's get to the second one. That's one just as big. Must be an athlete to play. Must be. Am I saying that there are not athletes that play baseball? Absolutely, there are athletes that play baseball. But all I have to cite is the most famous baseball player that ever lived. Babe Ruth, the most famous baseball player that ever lived, was a known alcoholic, way overweight, totally out of shape, and is still thought of as the greatest baseball player ever. But you
For
don't even
sure.
have to go back that far. You can look at baseball players right now that are in their middle 40s playing baseball, that are over 300 pounds playing baseball, that couldn't run from here to there without having a stroke, that are playing baseball. You do not have to be an athlete to play baseball. Does that mean that there are not a lot of athletes and there's not a lot of expertise in no, there's a lot of expertise. They're all experts. So whatever, even if they're a reliever, a relieving pitcher, they're experts. Uh, but that doesn't mean they're athletes.
I mean, I can't argue with that. I mean, one of the most famous pitchers, one of the most famous modern pitchers, is he pitched for the New York Yankees forever. His name's CC Sabathia,
Yep.
and he weighs about 300 pounds. I used to joke
Big
that
Pappy. Big Pappy. They call him Big Pappy for a reason.
I thought David Ortiz was Big Pappy.
Yeah. David Ortiz, Big Pappy. David Ortiz
Well,
is his real name.
I used to joke CC Sabathia. He played in the National League for a while with the Brewers, I believe. Don't quote me on that. And then he played with the Yankees. And I used to joke that the reason he moved from the National League to the American League is because in the National League, pitchers, not anymore, but at the time, pitchers had to hit, which means he had to run. So I used to joke that he switched leagues so that he wouldn't have to run anymore, and all he had to do was pitch.
You know, the irony, though, for those of you that don't think I know anything about baseball, I do know about baseball. I just don't follow it at all. But I do remember Sabathia, for a pitcher, was a heck of a hitter. Am I wrong?
No, no, he's a great hitter.
Of course, he had to be a
He
good
was a
hitter.
great
He
hitter.
had to hit a home run because he couldn't run to first base.
Yeah, he just didn't like he didn't like to run. And then of course one of my favorite players on the Kansas City Royals, team captain, they call him El Capitan. He's everyone's favorite. Is Salvador Perez. Everybody loves Salvi, and I love Salvi, but whenever Salvi has to run, Salvador Perez has been in the league for 13 years, and I believe he has. Last time I checked, this number may have changed, but I checked last year. In 13 years, he has 6 stolen bases. Uh,
And
and
those
whenever
had to
he
be pass balls or balls thrown over somebody's head. He could not steal a base.
No, and whenever he runs, the commentator always says that he rumbles around the bases, which is a pretty good description of what he does.
He plays the position in baseball that has to move the very least, probably less than the pitcher, and that's the catcher.
Yep, he's the catcher. Sometimes he'll play first base, but he has primarily throughout his career been a catcher.
Okay, let's get to the third criteria. Must be some chance of significant injury while participating. Again, we don't want anybody injured in any sport or game, but
No, chip off the old black does not condone
chip
injuries.
off the old black does not condone injuries, even though that's the reason most people watch NASCAR. Sorry, Big Al, but that's the truth. Uh,
That's the absolute truth.
that's the absolute truth. That bloodthirsty people watch NASCAR and hope somebody gets in a crash. Uh, anyway, and before you go with Tommy John surgery, that's not an injury. That is a wear and tear over a period of time. I don't know that you ever see a baseball player tear an ACL during a game. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's just it. For one, they couldn't play. The ones that play that are in that poor a physical shape, like the ones we've just been talking about, couldn't do it if there was a big chance. They'd tear ACLs all over the place. They break ankles, and I'm not saying that those things don't happen. I'm not saying that a pitcher can't get hit by a comebacker. I'm not saying that can't happen, but it just is a rarity in baseball for there to be any significant injury. And I'm glad there aren't, but I'm just saying it's kind of a country club game. Anybody out there that's ever been to a Major League Baseball game, and Cameron, I know you would be the exception to this, but uh, or or maybe you don't notice this because you're blind. But if you looked around the stadium, and of course Royal Stadium doesn't have enough people around to really make a trend, but if you look around the stadium, even at a Major League Baseball game, it is a social event that happens to have a baseball game going on in the middle of it.
It is
People
for
aren't
sure.
paying much attention. They're sitting around there drinking, just talking to each other. Uh, just
Now,
the whole
the exception to that, I think it kind of is that way at a Royals game because, well, first of all, because the Royals suck. But I tell you what, and I tell people this story all the time because I thought it was so neat. Dad and I were lucky enough. I was lucky enough. I don't know if Dad considered himself all that lucky.
sure, because
Dad
I
and
was
I were
there with
lucky
you.
enough. Yeah, it was. We got to go to a Yankees game when we were in New York filming the documentary, and I tell
Yeah,
you what,
that's a different deal.
them fans were dialed in,
Yeah,
and that was a nothing game. That was a Sunday afternoon game against the Twins in April. That game meant nothing, and those fans were dialed in.
place was sold out, rocking. It reminded me of being at a football game. They were
Mm,
really into it. But that's kind of the exception to the rule with regard to, I've been to Rangers games at Texas at their ballpark at Arlington. I've been there a couple of times. I've been to Cardinals games in St. Louis. Uh, even even the Cardinals. I mean, it's just you kind of look around and probably half the fans aren't even watching the game. It's just a weird deal. And I've told you before, Cameron, I've tried to get into baseball. Why? Because it's on every freaking day. Unlike football, you don't ever have to wait for it. It's always on some channel every day of the week. I just can't get into it. But the fact that I dislike it, I can tell you I like it more now than I ever have because you love it so much. Uh, I love it for you that it's so great for you. But I just don't think that there's any way anybody can convince me that it is a sport based on the criteria I threw out there. And again, we're going to talk about a lot of these that neither one of us like uh, as uh, as fans, as people watching. Uh, but that's not one of the criteria. Hey, Todd has to like it or Cameron has to like it. Uh, it just so happens I dislike baseball, but I just don't. Yeah, I can't ever be convinced that it's a sport, not just a game.
I like watching you play your baseball game. For those who don't know, when Dad plays his baseball game, if a player starts hitting below 400, they're on the chopping block.
No, 500. They get it below 500. Yeah, it's ironic. That's one of my favorite. I can't stand to watch baseball, but that's one of my favorite games. Of course, there's a big key. I can fast forward through the pitching and just do the hitting.
I was going to say you skip past all the boring crap.
I skip my baseball games last 30 minutes. So, yeah, that's a little more like it. And I
So,
have about as much chance for serious injury sitting on my couch playing PlayStation baseball as the guys do playing Major League Baseball. So,
so I don't have much of a debate because, as usual, you're pretty much right. So I'm seceding. Uh, but I will say they do there are double headers, and I know that is against the first criteria. You don't see double headers very often. It's it's usually kind of like a last resort if they have to get games in because a game got rained out. That is kind of annoying about baseball is sometimes if there is a threat of rain, a game will get canceled. Um, I don't think the Royals have even played any double headers yet this year, which is good because they can't win single headers.
they can't win.
Um,
They can't win a single header.
they can't win the one game, let alone two. We don't need two losses in one day. Uh, so double headers, you don't see them too often, but they do happen. Uh, the next criteria being an athlete, you're right about that too. You don't necessarily have to be an athlete.
Not that a lot
CC
of them aren't.
Sabathia,
Most of them are.
yeah. But there are definitely some athletes in baseball. Um, I think, and then the threat of injury. No, you don't see a lot of serious injuries in baseball. You do see guys get hit with pitches. That actually happens fairly often. Or you'll see guys running after a ball and sprain something or hurt something, but it's usually not serious. I will say I do think one of the biggest redeeming factors of baseball that I don't think you will deny is I do think that you need a level of expertise to play
Oh,
baseball.
absolutely. And I said that
I've
earlier.
Yeah, I have heard just from, and I've never played, obviously, but I know from hearing from a lot of people who have played a lot of sports, and you hear it talked about on ESPN that uh, hitting a baseball is one of the hardest things to do in sports, to hit a baseball.
Absolutely.
Or,
Hitting a round ball with a round bat is one of the toughest things out there. You have to
and
have a
I
lot of
think
expertise, pitching, a lot of expertise. I'm amazed watching the accuracy of a guy throwing from third to first base. Uh,
absolutely.
how accurate, I'm not denying any of that. Uh, but just fundamentally, and I don't know, when you watch a game, it seems like 60, 70% of the time they're just standing around. Uh,
They do. There's a lot of standing around. There's a lot of scratching of the crotch.
yes, a
Um,
lot of crotch, a lot of spitting, standing around, crotch scratching, and that just does not promote the image of it being a sport to me.
it doesn't. And there's
So,
a lot. I think it's gotten faster with the pitch clock. I really like the pitch clock. Um, Ghost runners at second base in extra innings. I like that too. Um, but yeah, I mean baseball. I tell you what I think is cool about baseball is that players do have to progress through the minor leagues. So when you get players up who are playing in the majors, I mean that's a huge accomplishment to be playing in Major League Baseball. So I always think it's neat getting to watch guys play their first major league game. I think it's neat to see that.
Okay, well, we will call that good on the first segment of No Games, Just Sports, where we discussed baseball, and we welcome anybody that wants to debate, anybody that has a comment. You're welcome to post it, and we will get to answering it. So,
Speaking of which, speaking of which, that actually segues into we had a question left
yes,
over from last week on the "We Don't Want to Talk About It" segment, and we promised that it would get answered today, and it is a baseball question.
yes, okay. So it's time for the you're right, perfect segue into don't want to talk about it segment. Uh, Throwing out there again for first time viewers, if you have any questions for Cameron or myself, if you want to ask questions about what it's like living blind to Cameron, or what's it like living in Alaska to me, or any kind of questions, Cameron won't duck any. I try not to duck any. Just put them in the comments below, and we will answer a maximum of three. Just three. If it's more than three, we don't want to talk about it, right, Cameron?
3 questions, no more. We don't want to talk about it.
And that's what happened last week. We had more questions, and we didn't want to talk about the
We don't want to talk
overflow,
about it.
but we want to talk about it now. So the question comes from Big Al, one of our best viewers. So Cameron, what was the question?
Big Al, huge fan of the show. Shout out to Big Al. And his question, and I'm paraphrasing here because I don't have it in front of me, but he basically asked, um, why are there still human umpires in baseball now that we have the ABS, which is the automated balls and strikes system? So basically, a computer is now calling balls and strikes. So why do we still have umpires? My first answer, and I welcome Dad's opinion. My first answer is I don't know. My opinion of that is, a lot of people, the most common argument that I heard, they've been discussing the ABS for years. Uh, I've heard this discussion for uh, at least 4 or 5, 6 years now. And the biggest argument against it that I heard was they're dehumanizing the game. They're taking the humanity, they're taking the human factor out of the game by doing that. So my thought is that maybe they're keeping the umps in there to keep it, for lack of a better word, as human as possible. But then when there is a situation, because humans get stuff wrong, and there have been baseball games that have been decided on a call for a ball or a call for a strike, that they then come out later and say, yeah, that was the wrong call, did that wrong. So I'm in favor of the ABS. I like that the umpire is still in there, but I also like that just in case the umpire gets it wrong, because he is human, that they now are able to review that. And also, if there's no human umpire in the game, who is the manager going to go over and yell at and kick dirt at? He can't yell and kick dirt at the computer.
I think
He
he just
has to
kicks
go
dirt
over
all
there.
over the tablet or whatever.
Yeah, he's not going to take the tablet out there and kick dirt all over the tablet. He has to go over to the umpire and yell at him, "You just spit on me!"
You just
He
spit
has
on
to he
me.
has,
Yeah,
he has to
well,
yell
you
and
took you
kick
took one
dirt
of
at
my
him.
answers. That was going to be one of my answers because they have to have the umpire in there for the manager to kick dirt on. The other answer is simple: the umpires are union. That's why they're still in there. Now, I'm surprised that you're for the ABS. You know, I've watched uh, football in general, but college football particularly for 50 something years now, and I think one of the worst things that they've done to college football and and I'm going to use college football as an example instead of the NFL because the NFL hasn't gotten near as carried away with it. Uh, but I think one of the biggest mistakes they've made with college football until NIL came around, that was the biggest mistake. But probably one of the biggest before that was going to instant replay. You know, allowing instant
Did see
replay
that
because
in instant replay.
yeah, because when it started out innocent enough, kind of like this ABS thing. It started out innocent enough. Now they have playback. If anybody out there watches college football, you know what I'm talking about. Now they have playback to decide where the ball is supposed to be spotted, to decide. I mean, just every little thing. And the human element, Cameron, you're right. The human element is part of the game. It's part of baseball.
For
It's part of
sure.
football, basketball, hockey, any of them. The human element is part of it. And try as they might, when they think we're gonna bypass the human element and we're gonna have instant replay. I can't tell you how many bad calls in a football game that I have seen upheld with instant replay. In other words, not only did the refs mess the call up to begin with, but then they have the ref watch the instant replay camera in slow motion and all these different angles and count on him to make it right, and he still gets it wrong. Uh, that's just the human element, but it slows the game down. I don't know if it's slowed baseball down yet or sped it up. I don't know how calling balls or strikes by a human or a computer can speed it up in any way. I've watched enough baseball to know when the ball crosses the plate, the umpire doesn't stand there and think about it for a couple of minutes. It's instantaneous, ball, strike.
You
So
know,
they're not doing
I
anything
will
to speed the
say
game up. Uh,
I don't
and
think that it has slowed the game down significantly. Not a lot can slow baseball down. Um, I will say when players like the Royals, for example, when the Royals challenge a call, one of two things happens. Either the call is overturned or upheld, and that usually does not take long at all. It usually takes a couple of extra seconds. Or the Royals challenge a call and the ump says, dude, it's 15-1. Don't worry about it.
don't worry about it. You don't need to check. What are you afraid it's going to
Yeah.
get to be 16-1? Yeah, you don't need to worry about it. So hopefully, Big Al, that answered your question. Uh, I'm not sure that there is an actual answer for that question as to why the human umps are still in there with the ABS, but uh, those are our theories anyway.
Also, the human umps are the only people who throw the managers out. You ever notice that? Only an ump throws a manager out of the game.
That's true. I bet you the ABS isn't going to be able to throw the managers out. So the managers ought to love it. They can't get thrown out now. They just
Well, they still get thrown out. Royals manager's already been thrown out once.
he probably wanted to get thrown out of that horrible embarrassment over the weekend.
Yeah, he might have gotten in a fight with the ump just so he could get thrown out.
Okay. Well, is that about it? You got anything else?
Nope, I don't think I have anything. That's it.
I don't think I've got anything either. Had a fun time tonight. I hope you did. You did, didn't you?
Absolutely, always do.
Always do. Always a lot of fun. And again, one more shameless plug. Please like and subscribe unless you got something against blind people. But if you don't,
Unless you
please
hate
like
the
and subscribe.
blindies.
Yeah, like and subscribe helps the channel. And we will see you next week with episode 11. Episode 11.
Right. 11-0. Kelly Robinson 11-0.
11 and 0 next week. Okay, bud. I'll talk to you later then.
All right, Dad. See you.
Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.